have a very special guest, one of my favorites. She is a true hero, not just to me, and I'm not just bullshitting by saying this. I mean, she's legit hero to people that are injured. This is Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. It is MD Breathe on Twitter. She's the founder of Americans for AmericansForHealthCareFreedom.org. Again, Americans for AmericansForHealthCareFreedom.org. It's Health Freedom, sorry, .org. The book is Dangerous Misinformation, the Virus, the Treatments, and the Lies. It's coming out in April 2026. We wanted to throw that in there as well. We'll talk about that and what's going on with that in just a few moments. Again, the practice is breathemd.org. And she does have a new show on Shannon Joy's network, a Shannon Joy show on Rumble. It is on Wednesdays. Check her out there. I know there was a lot there, Mary, but thanks so much for being a friend. Thanks so much for coming on and doing what you're doing.
Well, thanks for having me, Rob. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, we're trying to battle through it. But before we even get into any questions, I want to talk about the legal battle. But before we even dip into that, let's talk about the book, because I just found out about that as I was doing some information before we started here. Again, Dangerous Misinformation, the Virus, the Treatment, and the Lies. It is coming out in April 2026. Talk a little bit about that and how the idea came about.
Well, the title came about because I was accused of spreading dangerous misinformation. And that's what sort of threw me into this battle to begin with, because I had a major hospital system, Methodist Hospital. They were the first in the country to mandate the COVID shots, April 1st, 2021, 5 months before Biden. So they really paved the way. And I had privileges there. And when I started speaking out against the mandates, they went after me pretty viciously. And one of the things they did is on Twitter, they said, Dr. Bowden is spreading dangerous misinformation, harmful to the community. And that literally upended my world. I mean, it was like the shot across the bow. I had people from all over the world screaming at me. I had CNN and Washington Post coming after me. And so that's really what launched the battle. And that's hence the title of the book. And the book just goes over the last 5 years and what all the things I learned during the pandemic. It was amazing. It was very difficult, but I grew so much. And I hope I can inspire others to take on the challenge if it comes to them.
Well, again, you've helped people, whether it's with COVID or the jab, thousands of people, I should say. And you really gave a lot of hope to people. And I'm grateful that you've came out, in the past few years and really came into media and gave your voice there, because it is important. And I think that a lot of people, when they've seen a podcast from you and I or a podcast with you and someone else, they can kind of read through the lines and know that you're not a bullshit artist. You tell the truth. Before all this started, you were just a normal ENT doctor with trying to just get by day, raising your kids. The list goes on and on. And again, you fell into this, trying to help a man that was about to die. And then they just wrecked your life and try to ruin it. But again, you're on the rebound. So just go a little deeper into that as far as the legal fight, because the legal fight still reigns on for you, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm still fighting for my license in Texas. So yeah, in November 2021, and this was during the huge surge. This was following the rollout of the COVID shots, but we had a massive surge. We had a lot of people going into the hospital the fall of 2021. And I had a patient's wife reach out to me. He was hospitalized with COVID. He'd been in the ICU for over a month. The hospital had sort of given up. They said they had tried everything and they were discussing hospice. So she wanted him to try ivermectin, and he had tried to get it before going in the hospital and couldn't get it. So she knew that he'd be okay with that, and she was his legal proxy. She sued the hospital, and I was part of that lawsuit. I testified. I also testified with State Senator Bob Hall. And we won the lawsuit, and the court ordered the hospital to grant me emergency temporary privileges. Now, getting privileges at a hospital is an arduous process, but at this time, because of the pandemic, they were expediting things. So it was really a same-day process. Like, I could have walked into any hospital in Texas and said, "Hey, I'm here to help," and they would have processed those privileges immediately. Well, of course, with this situation, it was entirely different. They made me get letters of recommendation. They made me submit 2 years of surgical case logs. And then they told me, we're not going to allow you to have privileges, even though there was a court order. So the lawyers were going back and forth, and I didn't really know what was going on. I kind of left it to them. And then the lawyer on our side said, yes, we've got the green light. It's okay to send the nurse to the hospital. So I did that. The nurse shows up. She's greeted by the police. There's not a scene. She leaves. It's not a big, stink. But the hospital turned me in. They said I sent a nurse to the hospital without privileges. They wanted to fine me $5,000, make me take 8 hours of CME, retake a legal exam that all doctors have to take in Texas. And I refused and decided to fight. So it went up a level. It went to the State Office of Administrative Hearings, which is still an executive branch court system. We're not yet into the judicial system. These are appointed judges. And anyway, I lost that. So they said, yeah, you are guilty. And then now I'm waiting my punishment. So now I go back to the medical board. They're going to look at the decision from the judges, decide what my punishment is. And then I will be appealing. And this time it will go to the actual judicial system. So it'll go to a state court. And then we see. So
when is that happening? Sorry to interject.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the process is a punishment.
Well, they're just toying with you. They've been doing it for multiple years upon years on end. They're just trying to drain you with, as far as money wise. We've talked about this on air and off air, and it's really disgusting that this country, and even the state of Texas, this supposed bastion of conservatism, it's a joke down there. I mean, we've talked about this in the medical, all these medical organizations down there, some of the biggest in the world, Texas Medical, biggest in the world. And they just control Texas politics, and they're bringing in this bastion of liberalism from California, from all these West Coast states into Texas. And that's what's going on. And for somebody like you that's been standing up and fighting for the people that are struggling with COVID, the people that are struggling with jab injuries, they don't give a crap. And it's really cult-like. It was extremely cult-like during COVID, and it's getting even more. And I want to even kind of dip into this since you hit the topic. I was going to reframe to talk about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., but since you brought this out, there is many states that are joining this vaccine alliance. It's Washington, California, Colorado's looking to jump in, Massachusetts, all these liberal states. They have liberal governors that are joining in. And again, they're making this about the shots, the mRNA. They're putting in the food. They're putting it in the vaccines. And they're making this about politics, that if you're a liberal, you got to get the jab. You got to eat the mRNA food. What happened to the parties? The liberals used to be, and I used to be very far to the left, Bernie Sanders guy. And we saw what happened in the Kennedy hearings, him and Elizabeth Warren getting paid off by Big Pharma, just running their mouths, acting like a bunch of psychopaths. But the liberals, again, when the opioid crisis was going on, Doc, they were the ones that were trying to push that prosecution stuff. Now they're just in cahoots with all the medical industry. We see this in Texas, but we see this in many states around the country, Republican and Democrat.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah, well, you can make the counter argument. You've seen that ivermectin is being made over the counter in there are 5 states now. But the safety profile of ivermectin does not change depending on which state you're in. And the safety profile of vaccines does not change depending on what state you're in. It's complete madness. And we're also not talking about a moral issue. It's not like abortion, right? Abortion is a little bit political because there's ethics involved. This is safety and efficacy of therapeutics that we're talking about, and it shouldn't really matter which state you're in. It's totally bizarre.
But what is this cult-like worship with mRNA? The vaccines, the food, They were trying to put some bills in Utah. We interviewed a state rep in Utah that was pushing against that. Didn't pass in Utah, getting it out of the cattle, making sure they're not injected. There's talk about vaccine and dental floss. I saw this on the Jimmy Dore show, which I knew you were on many times and spoke to him. He's a great guy. He's injured as well. And it's really disgusting. Vaccine and dental floss to take away if you're afraid of needles. Like, what is this? Like, what is going on in our society, our country, where this obsession with vaccines is going on? Like, I'm 35. I don't remember in my life ever really thinking about vaccines much. Yeah, I used to get the flu shot. I will never get any of that crap again. Regardless of that, it wasn't like, on our minds so much as it is now. But vaccines and dental floss, MRA and the food supplies, they just want to kill people, I believe. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, and now they're doing a flu shot or a flu vaccine by mail that you squirt up your nose, you spray in your nose, and it's a live virus. It's a live virus that they want you to, and they're putting it in the U.S. mail system. What could go wrong?
Right. I mean, it's really cultish behavior. It's really sick. And then we have Donald Trump coming out saying he wants Pfizer to be investigated on the shots. And then a day or so later, he comes out and says that the vaccines are God's gift to the world. He loves the polio vaccine. Some people think the COVID vaccine was God's gift to the world. I mean, is this guy like mentally we know he's mentally unstable. I should say that. But this guy is really mental. And then RFK Jr. said multiple things against the COVID shots for years. He's written books on it. He just sits there and says Donald Trump should get a Nobel Peace Prize for Operation Warp Speed. And I love RFK Jr. And I know Shannon goes hard against him. A lot of people go hard against him. Dr. Cruz, I know you went against him sometimes. And it's very hard for me because he's the only guy we really have left, Doc.
I know. He's our last hope.
Oh, man. And I'm just like, what do they have on this guy that he's saying this stuff? But let's just go into Donald Trump. I mean, is he just playing a game here with, again, the MAHA people and also because, a lot of his base hates it. So he's getting the money from Big Pharma. So he's maybe placating to them, but also playing to the MAHA people. Is this like some kind of game? I don't know.
That's what I can't figure out because he's very candid, right? For better or for worse, he says things online that, that's why he gets in so much trouble because he seems to have no filter sometimes. So I just wonder, what is this? What is going on? Because he usually seems to be more straightforward than most politicians, at least the way he communicates. So it's very confusing. I agree.
All I know, again, if Ron DeSantis was president of the United States, we see what's going on in Florida. Again, Florida's doing some great things. I don't agree with everything the governor's doing. I did vote for the governor in the primary. But listen, I'm just saying there's some results going on in Florida. They're talking the talk and walking the walk right now on the mandates. And there's not many other states doing that besides maybe Idaho. Let's do a reframe here again for people listening. Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. It is MD Breathe on Twitter. She is the founder of AmericansForHealthFreedom.org. The book coming out on April 2026 is Dangerous Misinformation, the Virus, the Treatments, and the Lies. Again, it's Breathe MD. That's her. Sorry. I lost my train of thought for a second. BreatheMD.org is her office in general. And also the new show on the Shannon Joy Network is Wednesdays, where she interviews other medical professionals, does answer your own questions if you have for her. So definitely check her out. Let's continue on again, going back to RFK Jr. testifying in front of Congress. I mean, he really does kick ass when he testifies in front of Congress. He hit Elizabeth Warren. She's getting paid by Big Pharma $800,000. Same thing with Bernie Sanders. They try to go back and forth. But, again, with all the Republicans that are in favor of RFK, they always have one or two that are against them. And that is Dr. Bill Cassidy from Louisiana, the senator. I think he is the head of the Finance Committee or the Health Committee, one of those. And I think Crapo is the Finance Committee. I think he's the Health. But he was always pushing Kennedy, and he pushed him in the confirmation. He's pushing him now. But what do you think about RFK Jr.? Because he, again, we talk about Donald Trump as a mystery man, but RFK Jr. is a man that, he has talked the talk and walked the walk. But again, in my personal opinion, I feel like there's somebody that's holding something, whether it's Casey and Callie Means against him or somebody else that we just don't even know that's behind the screen. So what was your take on the testifying in front of Congress?
Yeah, I thought he did an amazing job. He's so measured and he doesn't get emotional. And he's very convincing and direct. I think that people don't realize that he is the most popular cabinet member in office. People don't realize that. So as much heat as he's getting from these select people, he is popular. The people love RFK. And that's what should matter. It shouldn't matter what the New York Times thinks. It shouldn't matter what one or two or three senators think. What should matter is the people. The people support Robert F. Kennedy. And our elected officials need to remember that. And they need to speak up for him and stand up for him so we don't have to go through all this drama. And then in terms of who's influencing him, yeah, I've always suspected that Callie Means is part of the problem. He came in from out of nowhere. He has an enormous amount of influence. I mean, he is the one that brokered the deal between Donald Trump and RFK for RFK to drop out of the race. And his focus is not, I mean, he will not go on record to say that the mRNA shot should be pulled off the market. His focus is on food and chronic disease. But to me, it seems like a misdirection strategy, a way to divert attention away from the biggest health crisis in our generation that is they are trying to sweep under the rug. Now, maybe it's all 4D chess, but I've had so many conversations with Callie. I just, he could have brought me aside and say, hey, listen, I'm on your side and we just have to play it a certain way. He's never said that to me. And he said had ample opportunity to say that to me. So I don't know. It's worrisome, but I do at least, things are starting to happen. So that gives me hope.
Well, you even interviewed on the Shannon Joy Network last Wednesday. You interviewed Dr. Kelly Victory, who is on Dr. Drew's show multiple times a week. But regardless of that, she was actually being pushed to be the Surgeon General nomination by RFK Jr. RFK Jr. actually had the meeting with her about being the Surgeon General. She was vetted, as she stated on your program in general, but she wasn't picked. Again, it was to Casey Means. So with that said, I know you have a lot of intertwining relationships with the medical freedom community, and you obviously interviewed Dr. Kelly Victory. She's been very outspoken against banning the shots, getting them off the market. She was kind of on the right side of history from the beginning, like you were as well. Do you feel like if she was the Surgeon General, and maybe that's why they didn't want to pick her as the Surgeon General, maybe this came back from Susie Wiles, who was very entrenched in Big Pharma, that, hey, RFK Jr., we're not going to make that pitch because she's going to ban the shots and really push that on the country, and we don't want to do that. Do you feel like that was the reason? I know this is all hypothetical, but I mean, you have a lot of influence in this medical freedom movement.
Yeah, I mean, Casey Means has never gone on record to speak out against the COVID shots.
No.
She was very quiet during the pandemic, at least on social media. I couldn't find anything that she spoke out against about any of it during the pandemic. Whereas Kelly has been outspoken, but she has media experience. So she knows how to handle, delicate situations. So I think she would have made an excellent choice. It's really disappointing that they chose somebody that, Casey never finished her residency, right? And that's sort of a rite of passage to go through residency. It's I still say it was like a prison sentence because you have no control over your time or when you eat or you are ordered around. It was for 5 years, and it is very difficult. But it's difficult for a reason, and getting through it says something. And the fact that she couldn't get through it says something. So it's a disappointing choice. There are a lot better options. Kelly Victory is one of them. She checks all the boxes. She would have made an excellent Surgeon General.
Well, there's also some fishy issues again with Casey and Callie Means with the True Med company that they're involved with. They have a lot of venture capital people that are behind them as well. RFK Jr. went in front of Congress talking about he wants everybody to have a wearable. I don't know if it was by the end of the 4 years or by end of a couple years, whatever it may be. Regardless, I mean, we know again from Dr. Jack Cruz, who you on the show with him back on the Danny Jones podcast, and I've done a lot of research on him and listened to a lot of his programs. The EMF that's going through those wearables, our freedom in general will be tracked, whether it's sleep, whether it's where we go and frequent. The list goes on and on. So why would we really want to wear a wearable when it is, again, taking away our freedom, putting that information into big daddy government so they can do, God knows, more experiments on us? Who the heck knows what they want to do with that information?
Yeah, it's the whole data industry is huge. It's like oil. It's like the oil and gas industry, and people don't realize how much money there is to be made with collecting data and selling data. And Casey Means that's her industry. You know, it's a glucose monitoring system, but along with that is an enormous amount of data that can be sold to other companies. It's very lucrative. It's huge conflict of interest because the government, their HHS, the Department of Health is focused on this, on tracking and AI and all that. And both Casey and Callie have pretty significant conflicts of interest.
Yeah, and it's truly sad that again RFK is getting involved in this. I wish he would distance himself between those two because, again, as you stated, they seem like a lot of trouble. I know we're going to have to take a break in a few seconds, but I want to get to a last, one or two questions before we do that. Again, for people listening, it's Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. It is MD Breathe on Twitter. She is the founder of AmericansForHealthFreedom.org. She does have a book coming out in April of 2026. It's Dangerous Misinformation, the Virus, the Treatments, and the Lies. Her website for her practice is breathemd.org, and she has a new show on Wednesdays on the Shannon Joy Network on Rumble, Twitter. It'll be on her Twitter site as well, which she'll be interviewing a lot of medical guests in general and also taking your questions that you have for her. Let's talk a little bit about, again, September is here. There was talk way back in a few months back about RFK Jr. was at a cabinet meeting with Donald Trump and the rest of the cabinet saying in September, that was the deadline for him to say what is going on with the autism epidemic. We've seen a lot of talk about the COVID vaccine, mRNA, especially the past month-ish and a half. Do you feel like Big Pharma is seeing blood in the water? Maybe they're getting some information from some moles in the CDC, the FDA, or HHS that RFK Jr. is going to bring out that autism does have some involvement with some of the jabs that your children take, the 76 jabs that they take throughout their 18 years of life. Is that why we're hearing all this talk now? The op-eds coming out, the CDC people quitting. It seems like everything is coming together. It's a full court press, and there's blood in the water, and Big Pharma knows it, and they got to try to hit this as hard as they can.
Yeah, I think it's going to be sort of an exciting month. But did you see where I saw a headline where RFK is pointing the finger at Tylenol for autism? I haven't had a chance to dig into that. But I wonder what's going on with that. Is that a diversion? That's not what our focus was or what we thought was going to come out. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting month.
Yeah, I mean, I feel I saw that as well. I'll tell you, I go on Facebook sometimes, and I see on Facebook now all these people in Florida, news stations are saying that they're having trouble getting their COVID vaccine, and people are scrambling, and all these politicians are writing Facebook posts about what's going on with Florida with Joe Latipo and Ron DeSantis and RFK Jr. is a terrorist and all this other stuff going on. So it's very fishy how all this stuff, again, is coming in September when he announced that date. I just put 2 and 2 together equal 4. And I mean, we know that's the answer is 4. I mean, it's not, rocket science here. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's the media, and again, we need to remember that only 20% of Americans got the 2023-2024 version of the COVID shot. So the vast majority of Americans do not want these shots anymore. But they're making it sound like, oh gosh, there's a scramble to get these shots and they can't get them. I mean, that's just complete BS because majority of Americans don't want these shots, and we need to ignore mainstream media who's trying to make us think otherwise.
well, even the Hep C, which is coming on the plane now, and we know that it's only for people that are sexually active or drug users that have this. They do test the mothers before they, to make sure they don't have Hep C before they give the vaccine. But then they're giving the vaccine anyway to this baby that doesn't need it because the mother is not infected with hepatitis C. It's kind of really sick again. So again, we need to do a full scope on all these vaccines and see which ones are needed and which ones aren't. I mean, just from my personal opinion, I'm not giving my advice, but I'm just saying I won't take any of this crap anymore after I know what the hell has been going on. I listen to people like you, people that are in the medical freedom movement that weren't influenced by this big daddy government push for surveillance in the past 4 or 5 years. And that's what I'm going to go with. Last question before we take a break. Do you feel like Donald Trump will ever come out against these shots? Again, it's a tough question because he is back and forth. He's like a seesaw, up and down, up and down.
I was shocked when I saw that post. I think it was a week ago, right? Where he entertained the possibility that there could be something wrong. I was floored. I read it 4 times before I reposted it. But it gave me hope. I mean,
but then he comes out, Doc, and says that all these vaccines are God's gift to her. And the COVID vaccine, a lot of people like it. A lot of people think it saved lives. And then he's going to talk about his Operation Warp Speed, and he talks about polio. They always go to polio, by the way.
I know.
Why do they always go to polio? It's RFK Jr., it's Donald Trump, it's Bill Cassidy. They always go to the polio vaccine. When now there's talk in Africa and a lot of these countries that they're giving these polio vaccines, and now the people are getting polio from the vaccines. So how good can the vaccines be? Sorry.
Yeah, no, polio they use because it's such a scary disease to get because it afflicts children and, it's devastating. It's a horrible disease. But you look if you dig into it, there's evidence showing that it may not have been the vaccine at all that stopped polio. There are other factors like sanitation, clean water. There was all this DDT that was being sprayed around that time. And when they stopped that, perhaps that's why polio stopped. We just need better data. We need transparency. We need to get the vaccine manufacturers held liable for adverse events. But, it's not unreasonable to ask for transparency and good studies before proceeding with these vaccines.
Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a few moments with, again, Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. And we are back here with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. It is MD Breathe on Twitter. She is the founder of AmericansForHealthFreedom.org. The book coming out in April, of 2026 is Dangerous Misinformation, the Virus, the Treatments, and the Lies. And her office website is breathemd.org. And she does, again, have a new show on Shannon Joy's network. It is her just speaking about, and with medical professionals, about what's going on in the medical field, and also her taking your questions. I want to kind of get into what's going on in Florida before we get into some audience questions. Let's talk about that. Joseph Ladapo. I mean, this is a guy that's got a lot of courage and guts. I wish he would run for governor. I know there's talk about Casey DeSantis running. I do like Casey, and I do like Ron as well. But I wish that Joe would run instead of all of them because he seems like he's got a lot of guts and perseverance, and he could really make Florida great again if we really want to talk with Donald Trump talking points. Florida came out with Joseph Ladapo and Ron DeSantis saying no vaccine mandates. They are really making my body, my choice real in the state of Florida, not that liberal silliness talking point. This is real. Let's ask what your opinion is, Doc, about the my body, my choice, no vaccine mandates in Florida. It is really Florida freedom.
It is. And you think about it. I mean, why haven't we been doing this all along? I mean, because medical mandates violate a fundamental human right to not have something injected in your body. Seems pretty, not have be forced to have something injected in your body seems pretty basic, right? Pretty American, that we don't force people to undertake any sort of medical intervention. We have international law supports that, basic medical ethics supports that, our Constitution supports that. So they are basically saying what should have been a policy all along. I have pushed for a constitutional amendment so that no American should ever be forced to have anything injected or forced to take any sort of medical intervention. People say, well, our Constitution protects us from that already, but as we saw during the pandemic, not really, because they figured out ways around that. So I'm very pleased to see this from Florida. I hope other states will follow.
Everybody is genetically different. A shot that you might be good for you may not be good for me. We're genetically different. It's about bodily autonomy. Finally, one state is doing this. I know Idaho is doing a lot of great work with COVID and vaccines in general, so I do want to commend them as well. But I think that Florida is finally taking the step. And if they really put this into practice like they say they are going to do, it's going to be a game changer, not just for the state of Florida, which is the third largest state in the country, but it's also going to be a game changer for the country because Florida is going to step up. And people will keep moving to Florida if they keep doing stuff like this because people are fed up in Texas, as you're stating. They're fed up with the nonsense and all the fake fluff and no stuff. And that's what's going on in states like Texas and around the country that preach the conservative model, but they do nothing. And if you want to get the vaccine, get it. But why is all these people that are so for the vaccines, why are they so on Twitter and Facebook hooting and hollering saying, you're taking away the vaccines and my kid doesn't want to go to school with your kid if he's not vaccinated? If the vaccine is so safe that you can't get it if you get the vaccine, whatever sickness or illness it is, what do you care if the other person gets the vaccine or not?
Right.
But that's what it is. They're contradictory. They don't really believe that the vaccine is fully going to help them because they wouldn't say stupid nonsense like that.
Just saying. I mean, if the vaccine works, then the individual taking the vaccine should be protected. It shouldn't matter what other people do, right?
Right.
So
I mean, this country was founded on freedom, so you have the freedom to do that. If you think it's going to save you or help your health, do it. What do you care if somebody else doesn't do it? It's not your family member. It's not your kid. Who cares? But that's the way they play ball here, and it's very cultish, and we could go into that another time. I want to talk about a lot of the jab injured patients you're seeing. I'm assuming you're still seeing a lot of jab injured patients now. Maybe not as many, but you're still seeing a lot. I guess maybe you are still seeing.
There's still a steady stream.
All right. So can you talk about what's going on with them now? Is it still the skin stuff? I know we talked many times previously, and you talked about you're still seeing a lot of the rashes. And I kind of think that I could maybe have something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but just talk about the people you're seeing now. Is it specifically the rashes or many others?
Yeah, well, no, I actually haven't seen a rash in a while. It's been more neurological. So the toughest ones are patients that have severe tremors or unexplained pain, fatigue, neuropathy, tingling in the extremities, zapping sensations. The other one is POTS, where the blood pressure, drops suddenly for no reason, or the pulse may race for no reason. Recently I was encouraged because I had this patient that it's been trial and error for 4 years. And we finally doubled his dose of ivermectin. And he said that was the breakthrough. That was what worked. And because I've been using sort of the lower dose of ivermectin that we use for long haul COVID. And I went to 0.6 milligrams per, no, 0.7 milligrams per kilogram on him. And he said, finally, I have relief. Ivermectin's super safe. I mean, that the 0.7 milligrams per kilogram is certainly a lot higher dose than what you would use to treat parasites. But it's far below the level that has been shown to be toxic. So it's usually very well tolerated. Some people will get stomach irritation. Some people will get blurry vision while they're on it, but that goes away when you stop taking it. But it's well tolerated. And if you are struggling and you've tried, most people have tried so many things, and that's what I found to finally work with this one patient. But it gave me hope.
Because, I've been struggling, and we've talked about that. We won't, because we don't want to give anybody any medical advice. You have enough problems now. We don't want to get any more trouble, and I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube or anybody else. But yeah, I mean, again, people should look into this. Try to find a doctor that's like-minded. If you're in Texas, maybe you can go to see Dr. Bowden down there. I mean, it would be valuable for somebody that's struggling with these issues. I want to ask you these kind of audience questions a little bit in the fast-paced way as we end the show here. Why do you feel like people are still getting the shots after they and I feel like this is just a cult thing here, because my family, they hate Trump. And again, you and I don't like Trump, but with the alternative, it's tough to not vote for him with the alternative that was there. And they keep getting the shots, the flu shots, the COVID shots. They were trying to push me. They said I would die. I said, if I didn't get the flu shot, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, if I get the flu shot, yeah, I might actually die from the shot. But that's me. I had a doctor when I had I'm still having my issues with the the COVID jab injury. I should say, I'm used to saying long COVID as the censor word. But the doctor said to me, he said, Dr. Mary, he said, if you get a third shot, your symptoms will magically disappear. I said, what are we going back to Disney? Is this some kind of joke? I had doctors laugh in my face. I said, I'm never going to get better. They said, yeah, you will. And they laughed. And I had a doctor from Brown University Medical. She saw me at the Long COVID clinic. And she said to me, when I said I got this from the vaccine, she looked at me, her face turned white. I mean, these people are really sick. And again, my family is involved in this, and I love my family, but I'm just trying to see from a person that I'm sure deals with people that maybe they don't believe it's the vaccine. Maybe they won't want to believe what happened to them, what went in their arm. My family is having a lot of health problems now. And again, I can't prove it's from the jab, but I mean, 2 and 2 again equals 4. So again, long-winded, but why do you feel like people are getting this, and how do we get to these people?
I don't know. I mean, I know. Well, there's this whole group think phenomenon. It's safer. People feel more secure when they're going along. There's intellectual laziness, just not willing to even look into things. There's a lack of curiosity. I think if you haven't experienced something firsthand, it's easier just to go along with the authorities. And, some of them, they may have to learn the hard way. But like you said, even people that are injured don't see it, which is, I saw a patient last week, I think. He did not put 2 and 2 together until it took him a couple of years. But I mean, his symptoms started right after the shots, and he was a healthy young man. But it didn't occur to him, right? And that's how powerful the propaganda is. It's really amazing.
Well, I told this to Dr. McCullough a while ago. People like you, people like him, I would have thought that you people were batshit crazy saying some of this stuff. Because then again, I was in the group think, I was in the cult. But again, when you get injured and people laugh in your face, make fun of you, try to give you antidepressants or benzodiazepines that are really going to screw you up even harder, you start thinking like, maybe I should look at some of these people that are saying the alternative thing, because maybe like I'm losing my mind here. So then again, I start looking and listening to the alternative, and I'm putting two and two together to equal four, because no one in mainstream is helping me. And these people are, I'm putting my symptoms, I'm putting the time frames together when this started. And I'm saying this is really from the jab, because I went to the hospital. This is in Florida back in 2022, because my heart kept racing and racing. And I thought I was going to have a heart attack. And I said, I don't know if this is anxiety. I said, but this started after I got the COVID shot. I said, could this be like, together, like put two and two together? And the person at Orlando Health said, no, no way. Those shots are safe. This is in Florida. Okay. So again, it doesn't matter, because it's all about how they teach the doctors. Now it's very different from when you went to school. And again, you're not old. I'm just saying they have all the DEI crap and all this other BS that's going on in the schools now. So it's really ridiculous. Again, and let's talk about this, because again, I have my family around me sometimes. They're not here at the moment, but they come around. What about the shedding? If they're still getting the shots and I'm already injured, am I going to be shedded on and getting screwed even harder? Like, I mean, and I'm still, my body is already a spike protein factory. Am I getting more spike? Am I full of freaking spike? Maybe that's why I'm not getting better at all, too.
Well, Fauci would tell you just keep 6 feet away, right? That's all you have to do.
Yeah, wear 3 masks while they can walk around without no mask. It's just really sad. And we hear all this stuff about the turbo cancers and the shedding. We had Dr. William Mackus on a while ago talking about the turbo cancers. And I kind of thought that was a little shaky at the time. This is back in 2022. And now I think he was straight on right 100%, because again, we even see it. You see it on Facebook or Twitter. So-and-so is like 42 years old, 30 years old. They're an athlete or they're a movie star, and they're dying from prostate cancer. I remember I was listening to a show you did. You said somebody at MD Anderson said the prostate cancer is going crazy. In fact, I got checked and did a colonoscopy because it does run in my family at 35. I had a fight with my primary care doctor to get it done because, I'm already injured. I was scared about that. And lucky I was fine, no polyps or anything. And I know maybe that's a little overboard, Doc, but you have to think of these now, especially for people that are injured. I laugh because I talk to these people that got the jab and they say they're fine. Maybe you got saline. Maybe you're fine now, but you might not be fine a year or two down the road. But they don't want to think about that. They just want everything to disappear, move on. And let's talk about Trump and him wearing a hat or some BS that's going on. So it's sad. But are you worried again, like to kind of go back from the rant to the question, are you worried about the turbo cancers going on? Because it just seems like a lot of young people are starting to get cancer and die. Not a joke.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah, I have a lot of demand for from people. They want me to treat them for cancer, and I kind of don't do it right now because
there's talk about ivermectin now that could be help cancer now. But go ahead.
Right. It's just I'm in so much heat as it is, and I have more than enough patients to see, and so I have sort of distanced myself from treating cancer patients, but there is certainly a demand which is worrisome, and from young people, and I have a good friend that works at MD Anderson. She said she's never seen anything like it, that just very young people with advanced cancers, that it's not subtle. And the CDC, they control that data, and what they are using, their data is their current data is not actually current. It's based off of 2022 models. So it's modeled data, it's projected data. They're not giving us the actual data, and that's what we need. We need those numbers to see, okay, is this really happening?
I want to know what happened to all that Biden long COVID money. $10 billion or maybe even a little more than that to investigate what's going on with long COVID. There was that big, I'm sure you remember this back in like 2022, there was that big hoo-ha about all that money gone to research and stuff, and I haven't heard a damn thing since 2022.
Well, these academic centers have these long COVID clinics, and from what I understand, they do a lot of diagnostic testing. They don't do much therapeutics. So I've had a lot of patients tell me, I went through all of this and then they didn't do anything because they can't prescribe ivermectin, and ivermectin, in my experience, that's the most effective treatment. But yeah, all that money went to those academic institutions to pretty much do nothing.
So do you believe that ivermectin gets rid of the spike, or what do you feel like it does? I don't know if you can answer that or not, but.
Well, it blocks it from entering the cell, but it has 20 mechanisms of action and has a lot of anti-inflammatory properties. So I think that's a lot of the reason people feel better. But yeah, I track COVID spike protein antibodies, and I do see them come down in patients that take that ivermectin. It's not a dramatic drop. I mean, it's gradual, but I do see those antibody levels come down. And the antibodies, we don't have a test to measure spike protein directly. So the next best thing is the antibody level. And the antibodies, if they're high, it suggests that you have a lot of spike protein in your body. And when that we would expect that right after the shots, but these are patients who got their shots 4 years ago, and the antibody levels are still high, like sky high, not just mildly high. It's very, the people I looked at, the people that got the shots, who didn't get the shots, the people that got the shots, the average level was 1,300, and the patients that got the shots, the level was 13,000. The patients that didn't get the shots, the average level was 1,300. So 10 times. And a lot of these patients are off the chart. The lab can't even register the amount of antibodies because they're so high. So I'm using that as sort of a confirmation that, because we don't have a lot of diagnostic tests for the vaccine injured. That's the problem, because that's why people are so they're getting dismissed, because they get the $1 million workup and nothing shows up, and they're like, well, you're fine, you just need some psychiatric medications. Yeah, and it's bad because medicine has moved in this direction where you can't treat somebody unless you have a concrete test proving that you need to treat it, which is not the way it should work, because you can use your clinical experience, you look at their history, their physical, and then you treat them. You shouldn't always require a test, but that's the way they're treating these vaccine injured. There's no test showing, and so we're not going to treat you. So the antibody test, I will still treat people even if it doesn't match up with what's going on, but it just adds a little bit of information that I find helpful.
You were on Tucker Carlson's show. There was another guy on Tucker Carlson's show. I think he owns the LA Times now. Dr. Patrick Sushung did a lot of involvement with cancer drugs. He was on there talking about a shot for the vaccine injured. Have you investigated a little bit about that? I'm not sure if it's fully in development or it's still being looked at, but he's talked a lot about that.
Well, I know he has a cancer shot, and it's based off of T cell immunity. So T cells are sort of the precursors. They're sort of the fundamental part of your immune system. If you don't have T cell immunity, then you basically have zero immunity. So it's like the starting point, and then you go to B cells. So I know he's doing a shot that addresses that T cell immunity. I thought he was just talking about cancer, but I have to go back and look. I wasn't aware that he was also talking about the vaccine injured.
No, there is. He is looking for the shot for the vaccine injured as well. That's why I actually heard about it, and then I watched the whole interview in general. And two people that are actually injured told me about it. I'm not sure, again, how developed it is, but I wanted to.
Would you take an experimental T cell shot?
I just don't even know. I'm afraid to. I'm afraid to get my blood drawn now. Right. I used to not be afraid to get my blood drawn. I'm afraid. I have this paranoia that someone's going to put something and
Right.
it's not even possible. That's how sad it is. But you know, when you get burned so hard and so many people laugh in your face, and you got burned in a different way, you got burned by the people that are supposed to be looking out for you, the medical associations that you gave money to join in and all this stuff. But regardless of that, you know, and your own family, I know people that got injured and they're homeless now
Oh,
because their
wow.
family threw them out. I mean, you talk about tragedy. People are committing
Yeah.
suicide. This is not a joke. And I've had my own family laugh in my face, say this isn't real. I've had people make fun of me. I've lost friends. So it's been really hard. And like I said, and you know, I told you this before we started recording. Every day I wake up and I think about this. And you know, I
Hmm.
might be still having a good day, but there's something that limits me that day. And I'm grateful I'm not in a wheelchair or dead. But there's something that I always think about. I get a little
Right.
emotional on this, but
Yeah.
it's really sad because you know what? I'm 35, I was in great shape. I'm still in good shape. I'm grateful that I can still do some stuff. But it's really tragic, Doc, that you know, you're worried about dying every day,
Yeah.
you know, and it's really sick because you don't know what's in your body. You hear what it's doing to other people. You hear that it's killing other people, and you're like, what did I put inside me? And I
Yeah.
think that's a lot to do. And I'll finish off with one last question after this. But let me finish with this point. I think a lot of people that don't want to talk about COVID anymore, that did get the jab, I think that they don't want to recognize that they could have put a lethal thing inside their body and
Yep.
they don't know what it could do to them, whether it could kill them, whether it's nothing in saline. They don't know and they don't want to think about it. They want to move on. You know as well as I am, I'm a Disney fan like you are, and I live close to Disney and I go like 4 or 5 days a week. And I'll go there, and you see all these people walking around, and you think, like somebody like me, I think to myself, I'm like, these people, like, you know, there's so much going on in the world, and I know people need a release and a break, but these people don't even care. I feel like, you
Yeah.
know, and you think you're in your own world by yourself. It's truly sad, but that's how I think sometimes. And I know a lot of people that are injured as well, and they think the same thing. They're like, what went on in 2021 and April 1st when I got the second jab and I had this reaction? Like, what happened? And you start to relive what's going on. And you can go to as much therapy as you want and talk to a psychiatrist, a sociologist, a therapist, whatever it may be, and nothing's ever going to change that. And I've gotten past a lot of it, and you have to take breaks from listening to this stuff, but it's still tough. And it's not a game, it's real life. And I was bedridden for a year,
Oh, wow.
you know? And like I couldn't do anything. I had people making fun of me, telling me I was depressed. I wasn't depressed. I went to a psychiatrist. She told me, Rob, you're not depressed. She said, you
Yeah.
don't take any of these medicines. She said, I have two women in their 20s that were athletes that are built like a rock. And they put them on all those antidepressants and they're bedridden now. They're
Mm.
freaking
Yeah.
bedridden and they can't get them off the antidepressants because they get worse when they lower the dose or change the
Hmm.
dose. And it's really, and she told me, don't take any of that stuff. It'll mess you up even worse. All
Well,
right.
that's a
So,
good psychiatrist. At least you had her. That's
well, you know, it's weird because she was fairly young. I think she was in her 30-ish, around that age. And I feel like sometimes they see it. You know
hmm.
what I mean? But again, you see all these young doctors and they were just in the cult too. So,
Right.
you know, so
Yep.
it's hard. And then a lot of the older doctors, like I interviewed Robert Chandler. He's over in LA. He was working with Naomi Wolf and he got injured but he saw through that. And he said if there was a lot of the older doctors, they probably wouldn't have went through all that hooey stuff. But
Right.
anyways, last question. So again, you spoke to Joe Rogan. I've listened to that interview. I've listened to Tucker, the interview with both of them. Do you feel like that they're on the same page as us? Or do you feel like they're just placating to the audience? because again, there's people that say, oh, there's CIA ops, all this other nonsense, and everybody's a CIA op. You're a CIA op. Everybody's a CIA op. Dr. Malone, so I don't know who's really telling the truth anymore and who's not. I believe you are because I know you're honest and we've talked offline. But answer that question if you could, because you're in the same room with these people.
Yeah, and I've had more interaction with Tucker than Joe Rogan, and Tucker seems very candid, very authentic, off camera. I mean, after our interview, he was telling me things. I was kind of shocked. I was like, I can't believe you're telling me that, because I could go very public with this. Yeah. I don't know. I trust him. I don't think he's a CIA agent.
You trust Tucker more than Joe Rogan, then, you would say?
Well, I just feel like I know Tucker better. I didn't have as much interaction with Joe Rogan, but I never got any kind of sense Joe Rogan was a CIA at all. I think it's like, when you know, and you're passionate about it, right? And I think they are both legitimately angry about what happened. I didn't sense any kind of,
So you didn't feel like they were kind of oblivious to what went on when you were telling them all these things?
No, I mean, I think, I know Tucker reacted very strongly, like, really? But I think he knows. I think he just knows. And I didn't know. I feel like they're very strongly on our side. I was very grateful that, 5 years into this, they're still talking about it.
Yeah, well, it's due to people like you that are going on. And I'm grateful. I know we talked one time. I don't know if you remember this. I remember I was in the room. I was talking to you on the phone, and you said, I don't know why I do these interviews anymore because it just gets me all rattled up, and I don't get anything out of it except upset and all this stuff. And I'm thankful that you changed your tune. Because, again, people need a level-headed voice. Because some of these doctors, we won't say names, but they go on there, and some of them sound like they're full of crap. Mm-hmm. And, they might be, we're grateful that they're in the same movement and they're fighting against us. But you come off, and I don't know if you try to or it's just your personality, but you come off as very honest, very much you're not trying to make money off stuff. Whereas some of these guys, they're looking to put out their next product, the book, this new thing, or they're looking for a job in the Trump administration or wherever it may be. And you're not like that. You're just working your job as a doctor, fighting against these jerks that are still playing with you and suing you, and also trying to, tell the audience what you went through and trying to help people that are injured like me. And like I said, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass. It's just what's true is true. And I'm grateful that you've, started to make a show for yourself, go out and more podcasts, and you're finally getting recognized by big name podcasts because that's what you freaking deserve. Because you've been through friggin' hell and you've had to deal with bullshit for 4 or 5 years. And I'm grateful that people are starting to recognize you for the value that you are.
Well, thank you. And I mean, I'm not motivated by power or money, and that helps you a lot because and I'm constantly reminded in my office every day about what happened because I keep seeing injured patients. So to me, it's just about winning. I want to win this war. That's what motivates me, is getting the truth out and holding people accountable for what happened.
Right. And I mean, that's the whole objective, and we'll end there. I do want you to kind of tease the new show. I know I kind of did a little tease on it, and we can end with that. And again, definitely check out the book. I know updates will be coming as the years and months go on. It is coming out next year in April of 2026, so we'll keep teasing that as well. But talk about the show on Shannon's network as well.
Well, thank you for all that promo. It's called On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. It should probably be called Amateur Hour because this is a brand new, live streaming is interesting. The first episode, my camera broke 5 minutes before going on. My microphone wouldn't work. And then we had internet issues the entire time. So hopefully this week will go smoother, but it's every Wednesday, and I start with Shannon Joy and I will overlap from 12 to 12:30 Central Standard Time, and we'll just have a little chat about what's going on. And we have something very fun coming up this week. We are going to expose something pretty big regarding Cali means. So that will be fun. And then the next hour, I will just probably have a guest and answer questions, because one of the things that really stresses me out is on my DMs, direct messages, and emails. I am inundated with people asking me to help them. And it stresses me. I don't read them anymore because it just causes me anxiety because I can't answer all of them. And some of the stories are just really, really sad. So the goal is to try to answer some of those questions for all those people seeking, help. And then get the truth out, because I'm still getting censored. I was kicked off TikTok a couple weeks ago. And, I'm always on thin ice with YouTube, as I'm sure you can imagine. So we still have censorship to deal with, and we want to keep fighting and getting the word out.
Yeah, no, I heard about the TikTok thing. I was on TikTok. I told you I go live at Disney about 4 or 5 days a week. And I was talking about the jab, and I did like 2 segments on the jab on TikTok one time. People were talking about it months ago, and nothing happened. And then literally about 2 weeks ago, I went on there and was talking about it using the jab, not anything about medical advice or anything. And they gave me a restriction. So it was very interesting. So you did it. I did it. We all have issues with TikTok. They're really censorship is really running wild on TikTok. I feel like it's even worse than YouTube. But that's which used to be really bad on YouTube. But anyways, I do hope people, again, check out Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. It is Breathe MD on Twitter. She is the founder, and check out the website. It's americansforhealthfreedom.org. The book comes out in April 2026. It's Dangerous Misinformation, the Virus, the Treatments, and the Lies. Again, her office website is breathemd.org. And again, that new show on Shannon Joy is Wednesdays from 12:30 to 2?
12 to 1:30.
1:30, okay. 12 to 1:30, okay. All right, well, again, Doc, always a pleasure having you on. I thank you so much for always coming on, and we'll talk to you down the road again.
Thanks, Rob. Good to see you.